Bakkies, it has to be the most talked about topic around South African braais. You know most, Toyota this, Amarok this and that, Isuzu what, it goes on and on. Until recently, when Leisure Wheels decided to determine, comprehensively so, which Bakkie is the best in the land.
When we say comprehensive, this test surely was that. It started at Dustec in Pretoria, where each Bakkie had a run on the company's dyno to determine actual power delivery on the wheels. Next, the 10 Bakkies headed to the Girotech vehicle testing facility near Pretoria. There they were put through a series of rigorous tests, including practical fuel consumption, handling, braking, in-gear acceleration and load carrying tests. All the vehicles were weighed with a full tank and the same driver. Next, the Bakkie of the Year competition moved on to ADA Training and Outdoor Centre near Hartbeespoort Dam. Here, 5 expert judges put all the Bakkies through their tar and gravel paces and also took them off-road on a tough old 4x4 track for a subjective score that counted 20% of the total score. Several other parameters were tested here too, like turning circles, actual ground clearance, approach angles, and so on. In this competition, value for money did not play a role. Instead, Leisure Wheels obtained all the test data and expert driver feedback and lists all the pricing and service plans in the magazine for you, the consumer, to make up your own mind about what represents good value and what does not. After all our wallets vary in thickness. This was all about the actual Bakkies. As a last hurrah, independent vehicle dynamics specialist and caravanning expert Jakes Jacobs hooked up a Buschlaper Miskreer off-road caravan behind each Bakkie and took the rig over the same 40-kilometer route, comparing apples with apples.
Talk about Buschlaper. This competition would have remained a pipe dream had it not been for the 3 main sponsors who put their money where their mouths are. Here's a closer look at Buschlaper's Miskreer van.
Buschlaper 4x4 off-road caravans specialize in high-quality off-road vehicles. Established in 2010, the company quickly established a reputation for premium quality in all departments. The Miskreer, with a tare weight of 910 kilograms, is compact and relatively light, yet can sleep 4 people in comfort. The van gets a solid beam axle with an 1800 kilogram rating, with leaf springs and shock absorbers are standard. And with 350mm ground clearance and a departure angle of 44 degrees, it can go very far off the beaten track. It's got all the mod cons you'd expect, and the quality of finish of the stainless steel and aluminium body is really impressive. A fully kitted Miskreer retails for just over 300,000 rand.
When we return, we find out which Bakkie impressed the judges the most, and we start the countdown to Leisure Wheels magazine's Bakkie of the Year. Time to settle some scores. Well, kind of. Here's how the scoring system worked.
The Bakkies accrued scores in various categories. The winner of each category received a perfect score of 100%, while the rest of the scores in that category were reworked as a percentage of that 100% score. The categories included weight carrying ability, safety, fuel consumption, 4x4 ability, handling, towing, long-term ownership, interior, and counting 20% of the overall score, the judges' subjective impressions. Each category consisted of various subsegments like turning circle, sagging, resale values, and so on. For detailed breakdowns of each category, you can head to leisureWheels.co.za. But before we get to the results, we asked our expert judges which Bakkie impressed them most after driving all the Bakkies over the same 45-kilometer route and over some 4x4 obstacles. Just as a note, our judges were not privy to the Girotech test results. They had to judge these Bakkies purely from the seat of their pants, just like the average Joe would when he or she takes one of these Bakkies for a test drive.
Yeah, I'm Dennis Dropper, the motoring editor of Business Day, and I'm out here today with my fellow jury members testing 10 different double cab Bakkies, and it's been quite an interesting exercise. We do get to test these vehicles in our regular day jobs, but very seldom do we get to test all 10 like this back to back. So there's been a couple of revelations. Maybe not too surprising at the top. My favorite so far has been the VW Amarok, because they do say that power corrupts, and that does have the best power. It's also a great ride off-road and just a very classy vehicle all around. And I would say the other two vehicles in my top 3 would be the Ranger Raptor, because of that amazing suspension, that Fox suspension and those balloon tires. So you can jump this vehicle like nothing else. And the Hilux I would also put in my top 3, because it's an all-round class act. Also very good ride quality, very good engineering, and all the bells and whistles. So as for the rest of them, I mean, there are some that stand out for particular reasons and others that fall down for other reasons, but if we're looking at the top 3, then that would be them.
We drove all the Bakkies, but I think my favorite one so far is still, I think it's that Amarok. I think it sits nicely on gravel, it handles very well, and I think also Mitsubishi Triton did very well also.
Had a great day, obviously test driving all the 10 vehicles available today. I think what really stood out is the ability for a manufacturer to take a pickup and transform the pickup within our industry. And what I mean by this is, my favorite today, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Mercedes-Benz pickup. I think if you have a look at the luxury, the interior, the way it handled, the suspension, the performance, I think as in a general package, I think it was absolutely outstanding. Furthermore, I think every sort of test has a wild card, if you will. My wild card at this stage is the Ford Raptor. I had an absolute ball. And the reason being is the vehicle, although the engine could be upgraded slightly, I think there was some that would say it needs a little bit more performance. The general testosterone felt in this car was incredible. So the fact that you could drive around with a superior suspension, the ability to climb over things and allow the vehicle just to accelerate in a specific direction was absolutely enthralling. I enjoyed it very, very much.
It was great to be able to experience all the vehicles in one place, one after another. I think you get a good idea of what each one offers, and each one has something special about them. But for me, the favorite was the Amarok. It ended up being the full package, and it performed so well on-road as well as off-road. Very comfortable. I just really enjoyed that car.
Right, let's get this countdown started, and it was a bit of a turn-up for the books.
What sorcery is this? The rock-hard cruiser Namib in last place. Unfortunately, the cruiser's antiquated drivetrain hailing from the 1980s, a diesel drinking issue, a lack of safety features, and a less than ideal power-to-weight ratio saw the legendary Bakkie plummet down the leaderboard. It was virtually unstoppable on the 4x4 track. It will outlast its owner, and it's as cool as punch. But from a dynamic point of view, the young'uns upstage the mighty Land Cruiser. Toyota still sells more than 200 cruiser pickups per month, and the single cab is still very much the toughest farm Bakkie money can buy. The 79 double cab may be far from perfect in modern Bakkie terms, but if you have the money and are willing to live with its obvious shortcomings, it's still a highly aspirational beast. It's one of those rare vehicles that will make you get up at 2 a.m. just to go and stare at it in the garage. Our judges may not have loved the Mahindra Scorpio pickup Karoo so much, but it certainly managed to upset the apple cart in a few segments. Its load carrying limit of 940 kilograms was the best by far. It recorded the second best fuel consumption, and its parts bin collection was the third most affordable of all the Bakkies. Amazingly, the Mahindra, despite its obvious workhorse roots and no on-road electronic traction aids whatsoever, managed the sixth best performance, outgunning several more modern Bakkies with plenty of aids. Sure, it's no oil painting, and the cabin doesn't exactly cradle the occupants in the lap of luxury, but the Mahindra turned out to be one of the big surprises of this test. Although value for money did not play a role in the scoring, this Mahindra does offer a heck of a lot of Bakkie for the money. A pre-event favourite, the feedback was not so rosy when the comparable results started rolling in. In the parts bin comparison, the Triton's bin amounted to an eye-watering 203,000 Rand, dragging its long-term ownership score down to 62.1%. Compared to the leaders in the class, the Triton lagged behind in the safety stakes. The judges' average scores were also not very flattering. The Triton scored very well in the 4x4 segment. Its standard Super Select 2 4-wheel drive part-time system, the only one offering the option of driving in 4x4 with an open center diff, so you can drive it on the tar without fear of damaging the drivetrain. And then there's also 4High with a locked center diff and low range. For the rest, the Triton scores were okay, but not great. In overseas markets, the high-end Tritons are fitted with state-of-the-art safety kits that rival the trend-setting Ford Ranger Wildtrak. To save costs, our Triton makes do without this kit. And there's that expensive price parts bin, thanks to import duties. If the Triton were built in SA, things could have turned out very differently. It was quite the unexpected turn of events. The latest Nissan Navara was set to revolutionize the one-ton Bakkie market with its coil-sprung rear suspension before its local introduction. But when it finally landed here, after some delays, the reception was lukewarm. This translated into slow sales. With a 500-kilogram load, the Navara's brakes proved to be the best of the lot in the 100 to 0 km/h emergency brake test. Its actual power-to-weight ratio was the third best of all the Bakkies too. For the rest of the results, the Navara did not do really badly in any department, but also not great in any segment, except for the ones already mentioned. So you can say the Navara Stealth kind of flew under the radar in this test, with a mostly average performance in all, but a couple of segments. The Nissan Navara Stealth is a solid Bakkie, but in a market with some great Bakkies, solid may just not be enough anymore.
Before we get to the top 6, we pay homage to another sponsor, Tough Dog's 4-wheel drive suspension system.
Designed in Australia for tough old Aussie conditions, one of the Tough Dog 4-wheel drive suspension's unique party tricks is the foam cell shock absorber technology. Normally, when a shock works hard, the oil and gas in the outer chamber begin to mix and form bubbles, lowering the viscosity of the oil, and the shock then underperforms. Tough Dog's microcellular foam cell insert with trapped gas microcells takes up empty space in the shock normally taken up by air or nitrogen gas. This is said to eliminate the possibility of bubbles forming, thereby allowing the shock absorber to function at optimal levels.
After the ad break, we get to the top 6 Bakkies. Do you know which one is going to win? The Bakkie that finished in overall 6th position. If you're a farmer, you might have a clue what I'm talking about.
It's Isuzu's new old D-Max, formerly known as the KB. It may not be one of the young kids on the block anymore, but it's still very obvious why Isuzu still sells so many units every month. For one, its actual payload rating was the second highest at 850 kilograms. The Bakkie's workhorse roots clearly shining through. Its parts bin total was also the cheapest of all the Bakkies by quite a margin. Less impressive was the interior. It has all the bells and whistles, yes, but if you jump out of one of the young uns into the Isuzu, the D-Max age clearly shows. Fuel consumption also wasn't great, and the engine, which doesn't like to rev so very much, seemed down on horses in this company. Still, there were plenty of positives, landing the Local is Lekker Isuzu 6th place overall. And in 5th position is the ill-fated Mercedes-Benz X350D. When Leisure Wheels did this test in November 29, the Benz Bakkie, which is based on the Nissan Navara, was still very much a player in the Bakkie market. Then, early in February, the news broke. The Mercedes X-Class is to be discontinued. Be that as it may, the Benz did a pretty decent job in our test. It was second in the weight-carrying segment, and thanks to the 190 kilowatt engine, it performed really well in the power tests. Fitted with an aftermarket styling package that included all-terrain tires, the Benz did not like our handling test very much. The engine also liked the diesel drink a lot. It's a real pity the expensive X-Class has been killed off. Maybe Benz should have invested some more pennies and developed its own Bakkie from scratch. Imagine a Geländewagen drivetrain with a burly V8 under the bonnet, an S-Class interior, a 1-ton payload, and all of Merc's latest safety features. Now that would have been a right proper X-Class. Oh well, c'est la vie. If you want safe, the Ford Ranger Wildtrak should be at the top of your list. With tricks like autonomous braking, radar-based adaptive cruise control, lane keep system, and automatic high-beam headlights, this Ranger sets the safety standard in the Bakkie segment. It's powered by a 2-litre twin-turbocharged diesel engine, coupled to a 10-speed automatic gearbox. Performance is sufficient, but not amazing. The luxurious Wildtrak scored full marks in the towing test, and in the parts bin comparison, it was also the second best, and its actual payload was the 4th best. Fuel consumption was not great, the Ford finishing in 6th place. The judges surprisingly didn't take to the Wildtrak, and in this segment, which counted 20% of the overall score, the Ranger received the second lowest score. Still, this Ranger ticks a lot of right-on boxes, and it's pretty clear why so many Rangers are sold every month.
Only 3 Bakkies left: the Ford Ranger Raptor, the Toyota Hilux Legend 50, and the VW Amarok Canyon. Before that, our last sponsor, Rhinoman Aluminium Canopies.
Rhino outdoor and off-road canopy manufacturers aim not to reinvent the wheel, but instead to take existing concepts and improve them to be the best they can. All the company's products are designed using the latest computer-aided design and fabricated using state-of-the-art computer numerical control machinery. Rhino Man offers canopies for Ford, Toyota, Isuzu, Nissan, Mahindra, Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen Bakkies. There are Rhino Man fitment centres across Southern Africa.
And time for the top 3. It's as popular as free Wi-Fi, electricity in your house. It's also legendary. Any ideas? Yay! The Toyota Hilux Legend 50.
It's South Africa's most popular bakkie by far. And this test pointed out why it's as popular as it is. The Hilux 2.8 GD6 Legend 50 4x4 is as solid as a rock from behind the steering wheel, and it really feels as if it will last forever. It recorded the best fuel consumption on our test track, and it scored very high in just about all departments. The judges really liked it too. That rock-solid driving experience and a handy cabin impressing them enough to earn the Toyota a joint second place in this vital segment, along with the Ranger Raptor. It lagged behind the Ford Ranger Wildtrak in the safety segment, and interestingly, with a driver and a full tank, you can legally only load 640 kilograms on the Hilux back. For the rest, the Hilux performed like a true legend, and it finished in a solid third place overall.
And in second place, when the pricing for these was announced, the naysayers said no one will ever buy them. And now they are as popular as township fed cakes. And with a waiting list of 2 years, it's a Ford Ranger Raptor.
You can jump it like an off-road racing bakkie. It has a bespoke suspension setup with Fox racing parts and extra reinforcements. It has special BF Goodrich all-terrain tires that were specifically developed for it with a unique compound. It's the Ford Ranger Raptor, a blaster-minute bakkie that makes you feel just a little bit like Drift King Ken Block. There is no other bakkie that comes close to the Raptor on a gravel or 4x4 track. Yet it's very much at home on tar too, offering excellent handling and a comfortable ride. Thanks to its Everest-sourced rear Watts Link suspension, it's not great at carrying weight. Its 2-litre twin-turbo diesel engine has to carry a lot of weight, and the power-to-weight ratio is not great, resulting in a so-so in-gear performance. It managed a lot of high average scores though, and along with a favourable score from the judges, it claimed the second position. But here's a theory. Imagine if this Raptor was fitted with Ford's 2.3-litre petrol EcoBoost engine with 210 kilowatts. Then, we reckon, it would have ended up on the top step of this competition. Just saying.
Which leaves us with one bakkie. It's as fast as a VW GTI, can carry that same GTI at the back of its back. It is VW Amarok 3-litre V6.
VW performed some kind of sorcery on the leaf spring rear suspension, and this bakkie offers an extremely composed ride on all surfaces. The V6 turbo diesel engine and 8-speed automatic gearbox are also trump cards. Here's a bakkie that will give a hot hatch a go between traffic lights, but can also carry a legal payload of 740 kilograms, the third best payload here. The Amarok scored top marks in no less than 4 categories: weight carrying ability, handling, towing, and the judges voted it their favourite by quite a margin. It's not perfect in every which way. Thanks to limited ground clearance and the lack of a transfer case, it did not fare as well as its competitors in the 4x4 segment. Its safety features also lagged behind some, and long-term ownership score was the third lowest, taking into account the sales experience, after-sales service, resale value, and the parts bin comparison. For the rest, the VW was a powerhouse. It is Leisure Wheels' first Bakkie of the year. And there you have it. After one of the most comprehensive tests of its kind ever conducted in South Africa, the VW Amarok is the winner. For the detailed story and for more statistics and results, get yourself a copy of the March edition of Leisure Wheels, on sale now. Because there were 1,021,000 results and not enough space in one magazine, the detailed numbers are available on leisureWheels.co.za to download.
And that's it for 2020 Leisure Wheels Magazine's Bakkie of the Year. Remember, don't be a chump. Keep those conversations safe around the braai. You